Hi, GERO 200. It is week 12. We're going to talk about advanced directives. We'll give you a couple tips for your CT2 that's due on Wednesday. And
It's
that's pretty
Veterans
much
Day.
it. Yes, and happy Veterans Day. And if we have any Marines in the class, yesterday was the Marines' birthday, so happy birthday, Marines.
Awesome. All righty. So we've reminded you about the CT coming up. Okay. Do you want to go straight into that?
Yeah, so the best way to get to the directions or to turn it in is to go to the nav bar, click on activities, click on assignments, and then scroll down until you get to CT2.
There it is. Click on that.
And then you can click on that. That'll give you the directions. Some people have had some good questions. Yes, it should be double spaced. If you have any questions before you turn it in, you can, shoot me an email or a text, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Someone asked recently, what are we supposed to talk about when we talk about our scenarios? And oftentimes, what I find helpful is for someone to say, well, I chose these variables, I chose these numbers, and here's why. So I chose two different career scenarios. One is I'm going to be a doctor or an NFL player or a teacher, and this was my expected starting salary, and here's a different career scenario with a different expected starting salary. Or your two scenarios might be I started contributing early or I started contributing late, or I started contributing a lot, or I started contributing a little, so just explain why you chose the different numbers you chose. And, we're not strict about how it's formatted. It doesn't have to be a formal essay with an introduction and a conclusion and, that sort of thing. We just want to see that you've got the data, understood the data, that you have the charts, and that you talked about what you did, and follow the directions.
Right. Scoot closer to me. There we go.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the slide deck explaining everything, and then we're redundant, but basically this is what is in the slide deck. Okay, so these are things you got to tap into. Be cognizant of the fact. You guys got to show us how smart you are. That there are limits, okay, in the IRA on how much you can contribute annually, and then there is a catch-up limit when you get past the age of 55, right? 50. See, that's why we had to look it up. Look everything up, okay? Yeah. And then also when you're talking about IRAs, you only qualify for those when you are making less than a kind of threshold amount of money, and so
as you make too much money, you phase out your ability to have an IRA deduction,
which is criminal, but that's got to change. Okay?
Yeah, and you can find the contribution limits either by Googling them. Investopedia is a good place, or you can look at last week's lecture where we talked about, wasn't it last week? Yeah. We talked about 401ks.
Right. And so we have the limits that are in there.
So we have those charts in there,
and somewhere like 180,000 maybe. I don't remember what the limits are, but I don't know when it kicks into gear, when you know.
Oh, it's much lower than that but I wasn't ready to talk about that.
Yeah, it's like, I can't remember. You guys.
It changes from year to year, so I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head.
There's no limit though with the alternative, which is the
401k.
401k, and so that's why you kind of, when you're looking for a job, you're going to navigate that. This is the YouTube I put together last time. I don't talk about the limits in there, just to let you know. So
I can throw the charts if I haven't already. I can throw the charts in the directions.
Right. Okay. Awesome.
And then to submit, you go to the bottom of that.
Stop it, Lucy.
My dog wants to be petted. Go to the very bottom. Scroll to the very bottom. Just keep scrolling. Submit assignment. Add a file.
Yeah.
You add your file and you hit the blue button, submit, and you're in. If you have any trouble, let me know. We also have it in our Brightspace Tips for Students PowerPoint that's loaded onto the course website. Okay,
awesome.
Let's go to our weekly content.
We're almost done, guys, which is kind of crazy.
Okay.
So this is where we were kind of nosing around, so it took us right to it.
Yeah.
Again, you can get back to CT2 by going to here as well in the table of contents. Yeah. Okay.
So why do you need an advanced directive, and what is an advanced directive?
Module 12.
Module 12. So an advanced directive comes in two forms. One is a living will, one is a durable power of attorney for health. And they're both ways of letting your healthcare providers know what you want to have done if you're unable to make your own decisions. And so the way things work in the US is a little bit different than it is in other countries. We're very, very focused on individual autonomy, independence, respecting the elder person and having that person make the decisions, as opposed to having the family members make the decisions or the doctor make the decisions. We want that person to be making their own decisions about their health care. So one way to do this is to create something called a living will, where you say to your doctor in a document, you say, if I'm dying, this is what I want to have happen to me. I don't want, I want heroic measures taken, or I don't want heroic measures taken. I want to be on a ventilator. I don't want to be on a ventilator. I want nutrition, hydration. I don't want nutrition, hydration. And so you can put that in a document and provide that to your doctor.
Do you want to go to the PDF file?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
The thing that I prefer as an attorney, and it's free, you can get these online no matter what state you're in the United States. You can get these for free. You don't need a lawyer to put together an advance directive, is a durable power of attorney for healthcare. And a lot of these documents will combine the specific instructions about end of life care. The specific instructions about end of life care that are in a living will. And then they also allow you to name a specific person as your agent, just like you would hire a real estate agent if you want to go buy a house or sell a house. You're going to name a specific person as your agent to make healthcare decisions for you if you are not able to make your own decisions. So John's my agent. If he's not available, my oldest son is my second choice. My youngest son is my third choice. As a lawyer, I like to have layers so that if one person can't perform, you've got another person that can step up. You've got another person that can step up.
All right. So these are all the issues that you're going to be attending to when you do this. And as Julia, I don't know where the agent thing comes up, but it comes in down here somewhere. So.
Okay. Well, you can, yeah. So you can scroll back up. So the things that you want, hopefully to have a conversation with your agent, and John and I have had a lot of conversations about what I want, what he wants. So let's say that I'm walking across campus at USC and someone on an electric scooter or whatever those things are called, hits me, knocks me to the ground. I hit my head. I'm unconscious. I'm rushed to the emergency room. And now John has to make decisions about what to do with my care. So, it all depends. It depends on the state of my health at that time. And I've had these conversations with John. If I'm pretty healthy, yeah, I want them to restart my heart and take me into surgery and relieve the bleeding and the pressure on my brain and put me on a ventilator as needed. But what if I'm in the terminal stages? I am a cancer patient. I'm doing well, but what if 20 years from now, I'm not doing well? What if I've already exhausted all possible treatments for my condition? What if I know I've reached the end of my time and I don't want to really delay anymore? I might say to my doctor, hey, in that case, or I say to my agent, John, I might say, hey, you know what? I feel like I'm ready. I'm ready to die. I don't want CPR. I don't want to be on a ventilator. I don't want artificial nutrition hydration. I just want comfort meds, pain meds,
So
help with breathing, etc. And this is going to be unique to each individual and unique to the stage of life you're in. You're going to want to revisit these decisions, say every 5 years, because you're probably going to change partners. You might change who you want to make decisions for you. You might change your attitude about things. Before the COVID pandemic, a lot of people said, I never want to be on a ventilator. That I just don't want to be kept alive by a machine. Then the COVID pandemic happened and people were being rushed to the ICU and they were being put on ventilators.
It was the only thing that was keeping them alive.
It was the only thing keeping them alive. And not everybody got better, but some people did recover and walk out of the hospital and go on to live good lives. So now a lot of people would say, well, let's do a trial period of being on a ventilator and see, let's do a trial period of antibiotics. Let's do a trial period of whatever. So your decisions might change over time. So like I said, it's important to revisit this document, this advance directive, say every 5 years, if you move states, if you get married, divorced, if you have kids, if you have your health status changes. Your mind and your views may change as you go through life.
This is comfort care. So
yes.
it's medical and emotional support.
Yeah. So,
and also, I mean, that scooter incident, she could be brain dead.
Absolutely. Right? And so
it applies to that, not just cancer.
So. I told John, hey, if my brain isn't alive anymore, I don't want to be kept alive. So just let me go. And he knows that. So the other thing I want to talk about is hospice care versus palliative care. There is unfortunately a big misunderstanding of what palliative care is. Hospice care is care intended for the end of life.
So you're no longer doing any treatments for your cancer. You're just like taking opioids, getting comfortable, and boom, you're done.
Hospice care in the U.S. is reserved for people who have a terminal condition. They're expected to die within 6 months, and they are provided a hospice support team a nurse will come to the house every day. Typically, hospice care takes place in the patient's home. A nurse will come to the house every day. The patient will be provided with medications for pain, medications to assist breathing and make breathing comfortable, medications for anxiety, and just, support for that person and their families while they're dying. Palliative care is a totally different thing. Palliative care and hospice care overlap in the sense that palliative care is intended to make you feel comfortable.
So you're still doing potential opioids and things, get rid of pain and stuff like that.
So let's say I have a serious health condition. I could have cancer. I could have cystic fibrosis. I could have Parkinson's.
You have a really needy pain in the ass dog.
I could have my puppies.
Come on, Lucy. Okay.
So anyway, when you turn on the video, she starts coming over here and wanting to be petted.
These sledgehammer paws that she.
There's her nose.
Hey, there it is. Lucy, stop it.
Anyway, so she's a good girl. Where was I? Okay, so I could have a serious health condition where I might have side effects from treatment. I might have things that make me uncomfortable that are related to the underlying disease. And my doctor might say to me, hey, I'd really like to recommend palliative care for you. Well, don't freak out. That doesn't mean the doctor thinks you're terminal. It just means that the doctor thinks that there could be healthcare professionals that could help you feel more comfortable.
Once you have it in place, it makes it easier to obtain. When you say I want palliative care, then it makes the wheels move.
Then it's not as organized as hospice care is under Medicare, but with palliative care, your doctor would assemble a team of people. So maybe you need a pain specialist. My aunt right now has metastatic breast cancer, and she's had metastatic breast cancer for many, many years. So she has some pain.
And she's getting some serious treatment.
Yeah, so she has pain specialists that help her with her pain. Or you might have trouble breathing. So you'd have a pulmonologist that would help with your breathing. So don't be afraid of palliative care, and don't be insulted if your doctor says to you, hey, maybe palliative care would be right for you. So the important thing about advance directives, you got to think about what you want, think about what's important to you. What do you want to have done if you're in a bad accident and you have a brain injury? What do you want to have done if you have a condition that's terminal and progressive? What do you want to have done if you are paralyzed, if you have a stroke? I mean, there's just a lot of different scenarios. And like I said, the older you get, your attitudes and opinions may change, and they're very individual to the person. In terms of comfort care, most people would say, yeah, I want comfort care. I want pain meds if I'm in pain. But my niece's husband is a recovered addict, and he's very much against that. He's like, no. I don't want to take any meds. And so, he would put that and talk to his healthcare agent and put that in his advance directives that he wants to avoid pain meds if at all possible. And then, of course, the healthcare providers would try to respect that.
My durable power of attorney says that if I'm that far along, to put me on a surfboard and push me out to sea.
Can be any day now. So communicate with your loved ones, and make sure that they understand what you're thinking and what you want.
And update it. Your proxy can change when you get divorced.
Absolutely. And a lot of states, the state law is that when you get divorced,
it's going to change
advance
anyway.
directive is absolutely canceled.
How about if you're separated?
Yes. When life changes, when life throws you a curveball, you need to be able to document accordingly with your legal documents. What do you do when you're creating this document? Usually there's a requirement for either witnesses or to have it notarized by a notary so that someone can attest to the fact that you signed this document voluntarily, that you weren't coerced, that you were of sound mind when you signed the document. And so there's going to be, every state's going to have specific rules about how to make your document valid. Then you want to take that document and, for example, I have all these electronic patient portals where I get my patient records. I've uploaded my advance directive to those patient portals. So now all my doctors have access to my advance directive. And that's a new development within the last few years with electronic patient records. So you want to make sure that you've given your document to the appropriate people. If you have the document and it's sitting in a drawer and nobody knows it's there, it's not going to be very helpful. When do you need an advance directive? Once you turn 18, you should have an advance directive. Most people don't. Definitely when you get to my age and I have a serious health condition, I definitely, during the pandemic, we updated our advance directives because I had John as number 1 and my mom as number 2. And she passed away, so I was like, okay, we got to get this updated. And I put together advance directives for both of my children who are in their 20s. But it's just a good idea. And I hate to say this, but most of the time, if you have a head injury and you end up in the hospital and you're unconscious, so you can't make your own decisions, most of the time your family will show up and they'll make the decisions for you. And hopefully you're of like mind and the right decisions will be made. But what if you don't have a great relationship with your family? Then that's a really important situation where you want to have that advance directive in place so that you've named the agent that you do want to make decisions for you instead of maybe someone that you don't have a great relationship with. There's some really great resources if you scroll down all the way to the bottom.
She's gone through over all this, so
yes.
We don't need to.
Okay.
So you can put that on. There you go.
Okay, so I like, for example, the Caring Connections website, caringinfo.org. The American Bar Association website is really good. So like I said, you can go online and you can download a free advance directive in every state. Just make sure that it's the appropriate one for your state. There's kind of a generic form that works in about 46 out of the states that we have, but there are a few states that have specific requirements in addition. So yeah, I think that's everything we wanted to talk about.
All right, and there's some just backup information.
And then this is just to reaffirm this concept that unlike some other countries, particularly, for example, China or other Asian countries, there's a more of a focus in South Korea and in China that the family makes the decisions, and we don't want to burden the older person with too much information necessarily about a serious or terminal illness. So sometimes the decisions are made between the families and the doctors. But a lot of countries now are starting to roll out advanced directive programs. So South Korea started recently. Surveys that were done, they looked at, older people. A lot of times people are afraid to talk to older people about death, but the older people have experienced death. John and I, we've lost our parents, we've lost our grandparents, we've lost aunts and uncles. And
weirdly, my cohort of friends, not so much.
Yeah, knock on wood, man. Knock on wood.
We're of the age at 68, believe me.
So we have experienced death. So when they surveyed people in South Korea, they said, oh yeah, we would be very interested in finding out about advance directives and in signing one so that we aren't lingering and being a burden to our families.
All right, let's go to the discussion.
Okay. So the discussion is kind of a totally different topic about cultural diversity. But what I think is so important about...
But, with advanced directives, there's big cultural differences.
Absolutely,
you were just talking about.
Absolutely. So, and there is probably there's a difference in uptake between different cultures in terms of hospice care. And I think we could do a better job with that.
Here's a boy dog. Stop it.
Oh, geez.
She's gonna boop her. Here it comes. You know why? Guess what time it is?
It is dinner time.
Close.
It's not quite
So
dinner time.
they just get freaked out when we do stuff where we're not attending to them.
We're talking into a computer. Clearly, there's something wrong with us, and we need to be reassured by the dogs. So, anyway, cultural diversity is really important. And when we think about vulnerable populations like our older adults, we really need to understand them. We need to respect them. We need to support them so that if they're going to need support in their later years or move into long-term care or assisted living, that we need to have really great programs that provide the needs for that population. So we've included some videos for you to watch about cultural diversity, and I think don't we have a multicultural guide?
Yeah, and again, the whole point of this discussion is, you guys are going to want a job someday, and maybe you're going to run a big program, and as indicated here, the culture that is down here in South Orange County in San Clemente is far different than the culture in Arcadia, El Monte,
Or Chicago, or New York,
So you got to be aware, because you got to match what you offer to your clients to the culture that you're drawing from for those clients.
Let's scroll down just a little bit. So we have this American Psychological Association resource about multicultural aging. And I think it's really interesting because it gives you links to specific resources for different groups. And it makes some points that we have to be ready in the US because our population of older Hispanic adults is rapidly growing. It's going to be the largest group of older adults in the US, so we need to be ready. We need to be ready to serve this population and make sure that we're respecting the culture. Culture is everything. It's religion, it's food, it's music, it's language. And so these are all things that we can incorporate into long-term care to support older adults.
So this is an enormous website, so you can see all the different resources that are available to you. But for those of you guys that are really avid learners, or you want to be informed, this is a great source then for doing that, and that's why we put it up here.
So we need to also think about our LGBTQ plus community. So for a lot of people that are our age, so 60s and 70s and 80s, they came of age before gay marriage was legal. So they may not have had the advantage of forming that family. So a lot of them are growing older with less support from their families. They may not have children. And they may have difficulty finding LGBTQ plus housing that's friendly to the LGBTQ plus community. So I think there's a big opportunity if you go into long-term care, if you go into assisted living and senior living, to develop communities that are friendly to different groups, to Hispanics, to
someday
LGBTQ plus adults.
You may own 5 facilities,
Yeah.
And one is going to be specializing in that culture, and another one specializing in another culture. It is big business, so it's definitely a way to go. There was a time back in the day for people that were the I'm tired.
LGBTQ
Thank you. Community that they had real problems with the durable power of attorney health, fiduciary, and real problems in terms of trust and wills, and they would be left out in the cold. So, sorry for that. I guess what I went surfing today. So, really
so anyway, and then another group that we need to be thinking about is Black Americans, because we know from what we've studied this semester that Black Americans have higher cancer death rates. Black Americans are more likely to develop Alzheimer's. And they're more likely, well, obviously very likely, to have experienced stress related to racism throughout their lifespans. So when we're creating communities for people that are walking into the situation who have experienced a lot of racism and stress and health related issues related to that, we need to be even more careful to be supportive and to make sure that whatever group we're dealing with is comfortable. And last but not least, don't forget our Asian elders. We've gone through the last 5 or 10 years, particularly during the pandemic, when the Asian experience in America has been kind of difficult because of anti-Asian hate crimes that have been happening. And we've seen in California older adults walking down the street that get beaten up with no warning. Just someone runs up to them and hits them in the head. And so we need to find a way of supporting each of these groups with their unique issues and their unique challenges and concerns and fears, and make sure that if we have a facility that we're speaking the right language, that we're communicating with people, that we're providing them with cultural support, with the food that they like, the music they like, celebrate the holidays that they like to celebrate, providing support for the whole person and communicating with each person as an individual. Don't assume that all LGBTQ plus people are alike. Don't assume that all Asians are alike. Don't assume that all Black Americans are alike. Approach each person as an individual and find out what their needs are, and then try to meet them.
Awesome. So here's your prompt. All right. So take it seriously. And again, you guys are building corporations. Okay. All right. Thank you. Good luck with everything. Remember, look for the individual limitations and facts in your CT too. All right. Peace.